Hello everyone, I am back once again with another match for Sword and Shield. This is going to be my week 7 match now for the SDA League, and my opponent for it is going to be someone named King Strong. Which is kind of funny because this guy along with Grundy's Bane, they both had like such intimidating names that I kind of did fear them when I actually saw that I was going to go up against them. And after my match with Grundy's Bane, yeah, you can kind of see why my fears were warranted. But nonetheless, I was trying to see if I can win this time, especially given that I actually came off of an outstanding win last week. So I want to see if I can kind of make that repeat itself here. However, this guy's unfortunately not going to be that easy either, because this guy also has a busted team, kind of like what I feared, and I think their win rate was also pretty decent too, honestly. So again, it's one of those opponents that like kind of has a lot of their like a lot of what I fear is basically backed up by what I see, basically, in that he's performed very well so far in this season. So yeah, we're gonna see what we can do. Here I was trying to pick the battle music, but I couldn't make up my mind, and as a result I ended up picking what is possibly my least favorite battle theme in this game, which really sucks. It's that howling theme that is just a bunch of howling and whatnot, and for me, I don't know why, but I don't like music that has howling all over it. But it be what it be. Regardless, the bottom line is that we win here. That's like the important thing here, is that we win this match. So yeah, as you can see, the teams are as follows here. This guy has a Wigglytuff, a Tapu Lily, a Morgrim, what's it called, a Volcarona, a Blaziken, and a Necrozma, which, yeah, it's not exactly ideal for me, honestly. Especially because if Necrozma sets up and then Tapu Lily comes in with Psychic Terrain, that thing is going to be unstoppable. Not even priority moves will save me here, honestly. Then there's also Blaziken, who can just set up a Swords Dance, then Protect, then get double speed boost, and then ruin my day too. And Volcarona, if it forces me to switch out and gets a Quiver Dance up and nothing can take anything from it, it's a disaster. So yeah, I do have some stuff for this guy's team, but I once again have to play my cards correctly. If I choke it or play stupid under any circumstance, this guy will mess me up big time. Just about as bad, if not worser, than what Grundy's Bane did. So with all that said, looking at this guy's team, he has no Volt Switch immunity. So because of that, I'm going to lead off with the Raikou. And I'm personally hoping he leads off with something that, you know, doesn't compromise Raikou here, right out of the gate. I wanted to believe that Tapu Lily would not be the lead here, because that would just be next levels of insanity. So we're going to see what happens here. So let's see. My opponent is going to lead off with the Tough Puff, which is, I believe, the Wigglytuff, yes. And I'm going to lead off with Raikou, like I mentioned earlier. So unfortunately for me, seeing the Puff lead kind of tells me that it's probably going to try to set up rocks right out of the gate, and then let the rest of his mons do the dirty work for him, which is unfortunate for me. So because of that, I had no choice but to just go for the Volt Switch and try to send out something that can just obliterate this thing, just as punishment for getting those rocks up. And my choice for that was going to be none other than Entei here, because Entei, I want to believe, can hit a lot of his team really hard with Sacred Fire. So obviously we're going to go with that. It does get the rocks up annoyingly enough, which is, yeah, pretty compromising, because again, if he sends out any of his sweepers, it's pretty much curtains for me. So I have to play this correctly. I'm going to go for the Sacred Fire because, again, not a whole lot on this team appreciates it. And it's stab on Entei, so obviously it's going to do the most damage. So yeah. And here, as you can see, it does thankfully take it out, albeit with a crit. So I don't know if that crit mattered. If it did matter, it is what it is. You know that we take those regardless. But if it didn't matter, because Puff's defense is not exactly the greatest after all, then it is what it is once again, honestly. Bottom line is that we took out one of his mons, which is nice, because now we have the lead. But remember that when it comes to teams that have sweeping mons, you know, that lead can diminish very quickly. So we got to be very careful here. He is going to send out the Blaziken now, which, yeah, is once again scary. These things can have Earthquake too, after all. But I figured, if this thing has Earthquake and is trying to go for it on my Entei, then I'm just going to go for the Stomping Tantrum myself and have him crippled as well. And if it survives for some reason, I have E-Speed for it. So we're going to see right here. I do go for the Stomping Tantrum. It does do a lot to Blaziken. To my disappointment, it does live it. But he ends up going for the Swords Dance instead of the Earthquake, so I'm good on that front. Because now I can definitely just go for the E-Speed. Even if he goes for Protect, he may switch it out if he wants to preserve this thing for Death Fodder, maybe. Either that or he's trying to be fancy with it and just trying to preserve for Differential. That is a possibility, honestly. But probably not. He might want to save it for Death Fodder if he switches out. And as you can see, he does switch it out. He's going to send in the Morgrim here. Which, this thing is actually going to be able to take the E-Speed relatively well. Presumably because it's Eviolite. Because, I don't know, I feel like it wouldn't be able to take it very well otherwise. Unless it's heavily invested in physical defense. Which, I don't know. It's a possibility. But either way, he does go for the Reflect right here. Which, if this thing is Light Clay, that could be compromising for me. But, I don't know. It does take the Sacred Fire a little too well, even with the Reflect up. So maybe it is Eviolite. But ultimately, I'm not sure. Regardless, I do get the burn on this Morgrim thingy. I don't know if it's Morgrim that this thing is called. I think it is Morgrim, actually. I think its final form is actually Grimmsnarl, so yeah. I think this is Morgrim. I wasn't really sure what the name of this thing is, but it is what it is. So regardless, here I'm going to send in the Sylveon here. Because, you know, I just figured, you know, I don't want my Entei to get, like, possibly Thunder Waved. Because I think I remember seeing a Grimmsnarl go for Thunder Wave. And because this thing is Prankster, he'll be able to go for it first, obviously. So I figured Sylveon would probably be better off getting Thunder Wave, since it's already slower than a bunch of his team anyway. If not all of it. So here he's going to send in the Volcarona. He's going to actually double switch as I switch in Sylveon. So this is actually kind of a bad switch for me as a result. And I have no choice but to just go for the Baton Pass and try to go into, I believe, the Tentacruel. Because I do have Tentacruel on my team, by the way. He is going to go for the Quiver Dance, which is what I feared. Because even he knows that Sylveon can't really do much to the Volcarona. I don't have Psyshock on the Sylveon, and I actually don't remember if it could even get that move anymore. Because remember that in Generation 8, a lot of moves were removed from certain Mons that they used to have back in Generation 7. But they were able to retain some of them, so I don't know, like, it's kind of weird when it comes to that, actually, still. Like, there are some moves that some Mons can still learn, but cannot learn others, so it's kind of weird. So regardless, here I go for the Tentacruel now, and just go for, or at least I try to go for a Toxic here. By the way, I made this Tentacruel specifically for this Volcarona, because Volcarona has Fiery Dance, which Tentacruel resists. It also resists Bug Buzz, and if it has Liquid Ooze ability, which I think this one does, it also compromises it if it goes for Giga Drain. For some reason, though, I actually didn't count on him having Psychic on this Volcarona. Maybe it's because I figured that Tentacruel wouldn't be a Mon I'd bring because of its frailness. But, yeah, he ended up bringing it, and he ended up using it quite effectively here against my Tentacruel. Thankfully for me, though, I actually did pack Toxic on this Tentacruel specifically so that I can guarantee this this Toxic on this Volcarona. Because if I had Toxic on something else, it most likely would have missed. But let it be known that with Poison types, Toxic never misses. So that's actually really, really good for me. So now my opponent is now in a predicament where he has to decide what he wants to do. He decides to stay in and just finish off my Tentacruel. I was also contemplating on whether or not I wanted to switch out, but given that it's already set up, I don't think it's in my interest whatsoever for something else on my team to take unnecessary damage. So because of that, yeah, I just let Tentacruel go down. So that is unfortunate, but the Reflect wore off, which is nice. So I could bring a physical Mon if I wanted to. I was considering Entei to just go for the Sacred Fire, but again, that Psychic might hurt, so what I decided to do here instead was actually send in Sylveon, because here's the thing. This thing is poisoned right now, and I do have Protect on this thing. What I want to do here is go for the Wish. I want to see if I can take a Fiery Dance to begin with. Then go for the Wish, which will allow it to take a turn of poison here. And then it would actually, I'd go for the Protect and then take another round of poison basically. There was a part of me here that wanted to go for the Protect first, then the Wish, then the Protect again, because that would allow it to take even more damage from poison and make it much easier on one of my mons to take it out sooner. But I didn't want to risk him going for another Quiver Dance and possibly taking out my Sylveon from here. Because as you can see here at +2, it does a lot. So at +3, it might have actually taken me out completely. So yeah, so maybe this was the right move, all things considered, going for the Wish and then going for the Protect. So I am going to go for the Protect right here after this thing takes a round of poison, which is nice for me. There is a chance that my opponent wants to switch out right here too, honestly predicting the Protect. But that's fine because the important thing is that it no longer has that +1 with the Quiver Dance, honestly. Because that's going to allow it to pretty much outspeed the entirety of my team and just ruin my day. So yeah, obviously I have to play this as tactfully as possible. And my opponent is thinking about it, it seems, so he probably knows that Protect is a possible move that I'm going to go for with this Sylveon. So thankfully for him, he's actually gonna see it coming actually and just hard switch out immediately. He's gonna go into Blaziken, which was again probably the reason why he switched it out against my Entei in the first place, was to preserve it for Death Fodder here, in case I did go for the Moonblast here. But thankfully for him, I didn't end up going for it. I did get the Wish off though, so I'm relatively healthy once again. However, I don't like that this thing could still have Earthquake, so I didn't want to send in Entei all willy-nilly. I also don't want to be fancy and try to predict a fighting type move, so I don't think Sensor was actually the move either. So obviously because of that, I decided to just stay in and see if I can take a Flare Blitz from this thing. Because I'd imagine that's what he want to go for, since he's definitely going to go down anyway. So he might as well just take out Sylveon if he could, or at least cripple it so that something else on his team can finish it off with ease. I myself decided to just stay in after heavy consideration myself and just go for the Moonblast. If I lose it, then it is what it is. He, surprisingly enough, actually ends up going for the Blaze Kick, which is actually a lot better for me because I get to keep my Sylveon around for a bit. And this Blaziken gets to go down, thankfully. And let it be known that him having Blaze Kick on this thing may have saved me a bit, maybe. Or may have made the match easier for me, I'm not really sure. But him not having Flare Blitz on this to possibly either take out my Sylveon or leave it severely weakened might have been a big deal. But we all know that sometimes us putting simple moves is all done for convenience as well, so at least we thought that it was for our convenience, and then it turns out that it's not. So, you know, it's one of those things that kind of just happens because you think you can kind of get away with it, but you realize that you can't. So you just got to learn things the hard way. It is what it is, honestly. So here, my opponent is now going to send out the Tapu Lily, and is going to get the Psychic Surge up, which is scary because I do have priority moves in Entei and Scizor, but if this Psychic terrain is up, I'm not going to be able to use them. Unless one of his mons are airborne, which I don't think is. So, yeah. Here I try to go for the Protect because I was fearing that this thing would have Psyshock. Usually Tapu Lilies, when they come in with like Choice Specs or something, they tend to have Psychic. But there are some that actually run both Psychic and Psyshock specifically for, like, you know, defensive mons, like specially defensive mons. So I decided to go for that just to see which version of Psychic was he going to go for, and he does end up going for the Psyshock, so that's actually good to know. I do get another round of lefties as well, which is nice. But this also tells me that I should probably switch in Scizor to see if this is a choiced Tapu Lily, because that is a possibility. Even if it switches it up, I don't have much to worry about unless it's like Specs maybe, because Specs might still do my Scizor in. But that's something that I'm about to find out right here. And if he switches up his move, then he's definitely not choiced under any circumstance. Worst case scenario is that it's Wise Glasses and it's enough to take me out in 2 hits. But he just goes for the Psyshock again. This is Generation 8 as well, so I don't have to worry about Hidden Power Fire or anything like that too. So that was one of the things that made sending out Scizor against Tapu Lily relatively scary, is that it couldn't Bullet Punch, and it also gets hit by Hidden Power Fire. So, but in this generation, I don't have to worry about that whatsoever. So here I'm going to go for the U-turn and see if he tries to switch up his move now. Probably not though. He is going to switch it out and go into the Morgrim thing here. I'm just going to go for the U-turn. This is going to do a decent amount of damage since, I mean, this thing is a Fairy and Dark type, so it is going to take some of the damage neutrally. Here I'm going to actually, I believe, send out the what's it called here? The Raikou. In retrospect right here, I think I should have sent out Entei, but I think I was still fearing that Thunder Wave from Morgrim. But I think Extreme Speed has +2 priority over Prankster, which has only +1 priority. So I think it would have been in my interest to just have gone into Entei and just gone for the E-Speed. The Reflect was gone too. I don't know if I forgot that the Reflect was gone and thought it was still up, so I figured it would live it. But even then, I think the Morgrim is actually relatively weakened here. that it was definitely gonna possibly take it out with an E-speed. Much more so if the what's it called was gone. But yeah, it's at red, so yeah, no, I don't know why I didn't go into Entei here. Again, it might have just been my concern of Thunder Wave hitting me, and Raikou is immune to Thunder Wave, so. But this might have been a bit of a blunder for me actually here, because you're gonna see right here in a bit right now. I think I go for Thunderbolt. I was considering Volt Switch, but then I would have to show my opponent what I send in, which I don't know if that's in my interest. So because of that, I just stay in and go for the Thunderbolt instead. Unfortunately for me though, this guy ends up having both screens, so that is a little annoying. Although seeing how soon Reflect went away tells me that this definitely isn't likely. It's definitely an Eviolite Morgrim, so yeah, we do get to take this thing out, thankfully, and just not have to worry about it. All we have to do now is just kind of like play around my opponent's team and kind of just make it so that he kind of goes down to poison, specifically the Volcarona. Right here, I believe it's here where he sends out the Necrozma. Yeah, he does send it in right here. And thankfully for me, I do have Toxic on this Raikou as well. Because again, I had a feeling this guy was going to be like tricky with me, and he was with those screens. So if I can't take out his mons like that, then at least put these things on a timer. And hope for goodness sakes he doesn't have Lumberries on his mons, because that would be scary. As you can see, this Necrozma is of the Calm Minding variety. All that's left is that this thing also has Rock Polish and just ruins my day that way. But we're not going to find out, or we're not going to try to find out here. He's going to take a round of damage from Poison. And I believe here, because I'm still faster than this Necrozma, I'm actually going to stay in and actually go for the Volt Switch just to get some damage off. I think somewhere around here, I actually tried to send in the, what's it called here? The Entei somewhere around here. But I don't think it's right here, though. It might have been Sylveon, actually. Yeah, I think I sent in Sylveon right here. Definitely not Aerodactyl, because, again, the Photon Geyser will definitely do a lot of damage. If anything, the only thing that can take the Photon Geyser is Sylveon. Even then, it's not, like, we're not sure because it's at +1 right now, and I'm not really sure what set this Necrozma is. I think if it's a fully offensive Necrozma, it might not be able to take out Sylveon. Or it might be able to take out Sylveon, especially after rocks. But you're going to see right here that this Photon Geyser, even at +1, surprisingly enough, doesn't take out my Sylveon whatsoever. It might be a bulky Necrozma with Calm Mind, if anything, so, which is fine by me. And remember what I said earlier about this being kind of a big deal when the Blaziken did not have Flare Blitz? It would have been right here where it made all the difference, because if it went for Flare Blitz instead of Blaze Kick, this Sylveon would have just gone down right here on switching. It would have been death fodder for me. But now because it lived here, thanks to the Photon Geyser, or thanks to the Blaze Kick being the move instead of Flare Blitz, now he has to take another round of poison. I was looking at my team right here to see if there was anything I could do to preserve this Sylveon, but it doesn't look like there is anything. Here I'm just going to go for the Baton Pass in case he tries to go for another Calm Mind, but as you can see, he's not going to take any risks and just take out my Sylveon, which is fine, because he's going to take another round of poison, and what I'm going to do right here now is actually just send in Entei. This was one of the reasons why I had it switched out over on the Blaziken, because I didn't want to take an Earthquake and have my Entei completely weakened. Especially right now that he has the Rock Sub, which is what's been ruining a lot of my team so far. I could send in Aerodactyl too, but I wasn't confident in it being able to take out the Necrozma. It's still relatively healthy, so the only thing I got here is Entei. Raikou can't do nothing because Calm Mind, special defense is boosted, so obviously that's not in my interest. Scizor is slower than Necrozma and may have Heat Wave for it, and I don't want to get hit with a Heat Wave on this Scizor. This Scizor is still kind of my win condition against the Tapu Lily, so obviously because of that, I have to send in Entei right here. No other option. From where it's at, I also wanted to believe that with Muscle Band and Sacred Fire being stabbed on Entei would be enough to take out this Necrozma without it having to take any damage. So I'm going to try to see if that turns out to be the case right here. I'm going to go for Sacred Fire. And I think this Necrozma is going to go for another Photon Geyser. Yeah. But I do outspeed it, thankfully. I think that was another thing I was worried was that if I'd be able to outspeed it. I do think I do outspeed it, though, because Necrozma's speed, I think, is like 79 79 or 81, somewhere around there. And Entei's is 100. Even if I had my Entei Adamant, which I actually don't remember if I did or not, it was definitely gonna outspeed it regardless. So yeah, here the light screen now wears off. So this confirms that it's definitely, the Morgrim was definitely not Light Clay. It was definitely Eviolite. Thankfully, my Entei survived the Photon Geyser. So the Necrozma now just goes down to Poison, and now we get to see what he wants to send in. If he sends in Tapu Lily, chances are I might want to like switch it out or let it go down maybe. He ends up going into the Volcarona instead, which is fine by me. Again, I don't remember if I even invested this Entei full speed and if it's Jolly. But if it's Jolly, then it should speed tie with Volcarona. But I don't, even if I was Jolly, I don't think I wanted to risk that either. Yeah, no, I don't think I wanted to risk it. So because of that, I think I just go for the extreme speed here, just to get as much damage as possible. And if it sets up a Quiver Dance, then I just finish it off with another E-Speed. I don't gotta worry about the Flame Body either because Entei is a fire type, so burning it doesn't make any sense. He is gonna finish off my Entei with a not Sacred Fire, the Fiery Dance. There we go. And it's going to take a round of Poison, but that doesn't really matter because pretty much anything on my team could finish it off. Even Scizor if I wanted to, but again, that's still risky business because the Flame Body can burn Scizor, and I don't want that. I need this for the Tapu Lily. So because of that, I'm going to actually send in Raikou because he did not go for the Quiver Dance. There was a part of me that wanted to send in Aerodactyl instead, but I didn't want to risk Rock Slide missing, Iron Head not taking it out, and on top of that, me getting burned. And, you know, Flamethrower I didn't think would be enough to take out the Volcarona, even if it's at red, because I don't think I invested any Spatak on the Aerodactyl. So yeah, here I'm just gonna go for the Thunderbolt. I should be able to outspeed it because no Quiver Dance was done here, thankfully. This is what I meant where I had to play as tactfully as possible. I basically had to make it so that this guy would not want to go for Quiver Dance. That's exactly what I did. So yeah, I go for Thunderbolt, take out the Volcarona that way, and that's another crisis averted. The last Mon I think here that he has on his team is the Tapu Lily though. So this Mon is, yeah, it can be scary because it depends on what he wants to lock himself into. Like if he has Shadow Wall, maybe he'll try to lock himself into that. Or if he wants to try his luck and just try to finish me off with Psychic or Psyshock, he could try that too. Because he is going to be under Psychic terrain. And, you know, his Psychic moves will be buffed. It's Stab on Tapu Lily too. I don't know if this thing is specs yet. Probably not, but I'm not really sure either. Either way, here comes the Tapu Lily, and it's going to actually, you know, probably run house. I do have a nice lead, but this thing could actually still do us in if we don't play our cards correctly here. So obviously, I wanted to see if this Raikou can actually do anything to this Tapu Lily. I wanted to see if it was maybe Scarfed. If it's not Scarfed, then obviously we definitely have a chance at winning here. But if it is Scarfed, then that's kind of scary. But this will also mean that he will definitely have to lock himself into a move, and I think that's what my opponent is thinking of right now. What move could he possibly lock himself into, given what I have left on my team? Psyshock does destroy Raikou here, and it does destroy Aerodactyl in one hit, I believe, because Aerodactyl, believe it or not, is kind of frail. So, but he does have the Scizor to consider, which, yeah, the Scizor does resist the Psyshock. So it's like, in that sense, would he want to go for Psychic? Ultimately, he ends up going for the Psyshock, which, yeah, it's going to definitely take out my Raikou from here, because again, it's Stab on Tapu Lily, and Psychic terrain is up. And even if for some miracle I were to survive that, there's also the crit too, so it's just like, there was no way Raikou was escaping that. So it all comes down to this, because if I lose Scizor here, I definitely lose the match, because unless the Psychic terrain goes away, then I definitely lose before I go down. For me, because this thing is definitely locked into Psyshock, I decided to go for the Roost right here. Because, yeah, I have Iron Hit here, as you can see. It was specifically for Tapu Lily if this Psychic terrain was to be prevalent here, which it is. However, given what happened in that one match with the Sableye, it was the match against Dinky, I believe. I did not have faith that this Scizor would be able to one-shot Tapu Lily with an Iron Hit. So because of that, I decided to go for the Roost first to keep myself relatively healthy, and then go for the Iron Head. And if it survives, I'll be able to survive another Psy Shock and just take out the Tapu Lily the following turn. Or if Psychic Terrain runs out right here for some reason, I could also go for the Bullet Punch finally. But what I wanted was to be absolutely sure that I could take out this Tapu Lily. He's going to go for another Psy Shock. Thankfully, it doesn't do too much. Maybe I could have survived that other Psy Shock, but I didn't want to risk it again. Because again, that Sableye match had me all sorts of traumatized. And I didn't want to risk anything. So as you can see right here, I actually do end up beating King Strong 2-0. If I had played something wrong around here, I probably would have lost, but thankfully we did not. So that's actually pretty cool. We won yet another match in the SDA League, which is pretty nice. Things are looking up. So you'd think with this, I'd be able to actually, like, you know, continue for the rest of the season and just see how it all ends, right? Well, that's kind of where I unfortunately hate to break it to you fellas, but unfortunately it's from here where things take a turn possibly for the worse actually. Because yeah, let it be known that my week 8 match will not be happening. The reason why is because it was due to a series of unfortunate circumstances. Because you see, what happened was that shortly after beating King Strong, I actually immediately was working on my week 8 match team. And I do believe on that same day, if not the other day that followed, I ended up finishing making the team. However, I made the critical mistake of not having that team made right away as soon as I finished it. Because by the time I got to my week 8 match, like, you know, when I scheduled it with my opponent and actually when we were supposed to battle on so-and-so day, which I believe we agreed to battle on the final day of the week. So obviously if the match doesn't happen from there, then obviously it's a forfeit win for my opponent. So what happened was that because we scheduled to battle on the last day of the week, I decided to then try to make my team. But unfortunately, what happened was that in between those two scenarios, I actually did like a little cleanup on Showdown. I think it was like a couple days before the deadline or the battle with my opponent, and I was doing a little cleanup, and I was actually deleting some of my old teams, which also included some of the ones that I made recently. But I don't remember having deleted the team for week 8, but apparently I did because I didn't see it there anymore. So yeah, because of that, I was left in a very, very depressing situation. Because what happens is that this guy, when we came to, you know, when the day came to battle, obviously, he told me that he could not provide any extensions because he was going to be busy the following weeks or the following days. So no extension, no rescheduling, and he only had like a couple hours to spare because he had another draft league match to do. So yeah, basically he was giving me a very limited amount of time to rebuild my team. And since I made that team like days before before we were to battle, yeah, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I remembered anything that I made on my team. So obviously I couldn't really do that. I tried for like a good 30 minutes, but it's just like I couldn't remember a damn thing. And the last thing I wanted was to actually go into this battle with a half-baked team and lose, obviously. Yeah, because let it be known that my opponent for this week 8 match was actually the commissioner of this league. And you want to know who that is? It's actually SwSh44. You might have actually heard of this guy because I've actually battled this guy at least a good 3 times. But the reason why I was like disappointed in actually not being able to battle him here was because he actually was finally uploading his matches even if the league doesn't require the uploads. So I wanted to have a chance at finally appearing on the guy's channel and whatnot. But you know, that didn't end up happening because of, you know, the unfortunate circumstances and whatnot. So yeah, because of that, I had to take a forfeit L, which sucks. However, the bright side was that A-Prater did tell me that despite the forfeit loss, I still made the playoffs, so I didn't really have much to worry about, sort of. And I was like, okay, that's fine, fair enough. And my round 1 opponent was actually going to be none other than Grundy's Bane, the guy who destroyed me with the flex wool in week 1. But here's the thing. This is where I become the problem yet again. Because, yeah, I did want the run back against Grundy's Bane. Because I didn't like how he destroyed me with the flex wool. But I also wasn't necessarily confident that I'd beat him anyway. Chances are that I just lose again, maybe even worse, because you know that I'm actually pretty lousy with runbacks. So, like, I was just thinking, yeah, I don't know if I even want to battle anymore, honestly. I was already disinterested with the league to begin with. I just kind of got a little bit of motivation because I won the last 2 matches I just did right now. But I think after the whole thing with having to take a forfeit win, or a forfeit loss because of the whole team getting deleted and not having time to rebuild it, I think that just put me down again, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And because of that, I actually did not even bother scheduling with the guy. And I do remember Grundy actually approaching me several times of when we were gonna battle, and I just never told him anything because I was just like, I was like in a blank state. I just didn't know if I wanted to play anymore or not. So, what's funny is that after the deadline, after time was up, basically, for us to battle, basically, it was only then that I had a sudden change of heart, and I asked the guy, hey man, do you still want to battle? And I think he told me that, well, time's up already. And I think A-Prater also reinforced this, obviously. Because that's another thing that I think A-Prater is also very, like, strict on following schedules, and fair enough, honestly, I guess. But it is what it is, honestly. Either way, I was just like, as soon as they told me this, I was just like, okay, that's fine. I was like, I felt like free afterwards. Because let it be known that this match was actually happening around the time that I was playing Hyperdimension Neptunia. So, and remember what I said about that game, that I really wanted to finish it. And kind of like what happened with Legends Arceus and Legends ZA, I kind of just started making that game my priority. So again, I was bummed that I didn't get to battle A-Prater, but it wasn't like too big of a deal either. And I know I changed my mind like rather late to battle Grundy's Bane for the playoffs match, but even him telling me no and getting second by A-Prater as well, but by telling me that time's up, even that didn't disappoint me. Because usually I would get kind of upset at this kind of stuff, but like this time I just kind of didn't feel anything. Maybe because I was too busy playing Hyperdimension Neptunia, I don't know, but like I just didn't feel anything. So yeah, the only reason I'm like mentioning all this is just because, yeah, I just wanted to, you know, let you all know that my run pretty much ends right here, and this is pretty much all the matches I have for Sword and Shield too. So I'm like all caught up with the matches that I had. So yeah, as for whether or not we'll have matches later on, that's honestly anyone's guess. Probably not, because I haven't been able to find anyone since, honestly. But you know, I'm always open to, you know, battling if there is somebody, obviously. I just don't know when that is. But yeah, for now, this is going to be the last match, though. So yeah, if you watch this match, thank you for watching, as always. And also, thank you, A-Prater, for having me in the league, regardless of what happened, obviously. I do apologize for my own inconveniences as well. Because, you know, I actually, I did say when I applied for this league that I actually was going to commit to all the weeks. But I kind of just didn't end up doing that. And it definitely was on me. Week 4, I didn't schedule with my opponent. Week 8, I didn't make my team as soon as I finished it. And the playoffs match, I was lazy. So again, for any inconvenience, I apologize. And once again, I thank you for having me in this league, because even though I didn't get to get all the matches for this league, I did get a decent amount of them. And as you can see, they're all here on my channel now. So if you ever want to watch them, feel free to do so and all that stuff. But with all that said, once again, hope to catch you fellas for whatever else I decide to showcase on this channel. But for now, just take it easy and have yourselves a good one.